There are thousands of smart home products to pick from, and they range anywhere from being nearly perfect to hot garbage and everything in between. But picking the very best and bringing those products into your life can make your home a dream come true with smart features that help you each and every day. So today I'm going to show you nearly perfect smart home products, but I will tell you where they have gaps, and if there's another product that's very close, I'll tell you about that close runner-up. In my hand is what's called the Philips Hue dial switch. This is a wireless button, except that it has a dial and 4 buttons on it. Instead of telling you everything that you could do with this, let me show you. The dial allows me to control any lights connected to my Philips Hue hub. I can set the lights I'd like to control in the Hue app, and then the dial works perfectly for brightness control. And although I can't use that dial with other systems, I can use the 4 buttons. Now this first button is being used with just Philips Hue to change the lights behind me. This second button is being used to change the lights through Amazon, which means I can control almost anything because Amazon has connectivity to just about every smart product available today. This third button is being used to change the lights through Apple HomeKit, and this fourth button is being used to start sounds on both of these speakers. So it can do all of that with one button push. And it's perfectly reliable because of the great connectivity between this switch and the Hue hub. And then the Hue hub, it has a local connection to most other smart home platforms. So that makes this thing nearly perfect. The scary thing is, I think I'm just scratching the surface with what I can do with this switch. And it's stuff like this that I'm going to show you in today's video as we continue to find nearly perfect smart home gear. Hello Automators, thanks for tuning in again. I'm Brian from Automate Your Life, and my whole job on the channel is to save you time in your life. So hit that subscribe button if you like saving time with tech. And one of the easiest ways to save time is to know exactly what products are the best, and when you've tested as many products as I have, you're gonna get a pretty good feel for it. But I know how smart and experienced our regular viewers are, so if any of you have your own favorite or your own perfect smart home device, put that in the comments below so everyone can get that benefit as they watch today's video. In the words of the great one, it doesn't matter what type of door you have, what type of door lock you have, how you access your home normally, and what other smart home devices you have today. The Switchbot Lock is going to work in your home and work perfectly. Now this lock comes in 2 colors, black and silver, and it installs over top of your existing door lock. The installation is the easiest I've ever seen because it just sticks on your door over your existing lock. You don't need any tools and you don't have to modify anything about your current door, so it's perfect for renters. And it's such a flexible device. Switchbot includes 3 different sizes of these thumb turn adapters. Plus, it makes the depth adjustable so that when you stick it on your door, it just fits perfectly almost no matter what you have. In my home, this lock is just a 1/4 turn, but Paul Hibbert showed us that he could make this lock turn around 3 times fully in order to secure his home. So it's gonna work with whatever you got there. The flexibility isn't just in installation either, because one of the things that other smart door locks can do is they can force you into a specific method of control. They can force you to take out your phone, they can force you to put in a key code, or force you to use a voice command. And the thing is, Switchbot Lock allows you to do all that and way more. Now to paint this picture, I'm going to show you what you get inside the box. You get everything you need for installation, and you even get some backup stickers. But you also get these NFC tags, which would allow you to have 4 methods to open the door if you just buy the lock. The first is through the app, which is amazing because as soon as you touch the button in the app, the lock moves. The second is by creating a widget on your phone's home screen, and the third is by scanning these included NFC tags with any of the phones in your home. The fourth is through Home Assistant's Bluetooth integration method, which takes a bit of technical know-how but opens up a lot of other options. But if you add one of the Switchbot keypads to your order, you unlock the ability to open and close the locks with those, either through permanent or temporary key codes, finger scanning, or this NFC card that you can put in your wallet. But to unlock everything, you need the Switchbot Hub Mini or the upcoming Hub 2. Those will give you access to an incredible amount of options, including some stranger ones like your Apple Watch. And finally, your existing keys will still work. That's actually an overlooked feature of smart locks because it means no other changes to your life when you stick this on your door. The device offers a lot of flexibility in the settings too. You can remove the lights or sounds from the lock, and you can manage notifications completely. Plus you can have it automatically lock up after a time. Now all of this for a smart lock that costs around $100 US, and if you use the coupon codes down below, you should be able to get it for less. People don't think about water damage in their home until they've gone through it, but it's such an impactful experience. I still remember every time we had a leak in our home growing up, and I've experienced a few since. Now, one of the ways to stop that kind of event from happening is to make sure that you have leak detection with a valve controller for your main water valve in your home. I've seen a lot of these controllers, but those valves are often in a mechanical room and they very rarely allow Wi-Fi signals to be there reliably over the long term. So when the proverbial poop hits the fan, you want something that's going to turn off your home's water every single time. Now, one of the best products that I have ever seen came from a couple of brands working together. Those companies were EcoNet Controls and Yolink. Now, why this solution works so well is because Yolink is a home automation system that uses what's called LoRa. LoRa is a technology that is using a lower frequency versus Wi-Fi. And it actually has a range of up to 1/4 mile. Now, LoRa is highly reliable, and within mechanical rooms, it's going to stay reliable. That basis to LoRa is combined with a number of other things to make this a near perfect leak prevention system. For example, number one, the actuator and the motor used is, from an engineering standpoint, fantastic. It's balanced, there's no vibration, and it even drew even power throughout the entire movement. Number two, this found the ends of actuation perfectly. I never felt like my valve or piping could be cracked through over-torquing. And number three, Yolink allows you to directly pair any of their LoRa devices to the actuator. This meant that leak sensors could be paired directly, and anytime there was water detected here, the valve was closed immediately without the need for a hub or an internet connection. And that last point is an Achilles heel of so many leak detection systems. When you require a hub or an internet connection or just another device in the middle, you're opening yourself up to having the system fail when you have that big event. This kind of a system relies on nothing but near perfect technology with a high engineering value, and yet somehow a pretty low cost. Now, I said I would tell you if there were gaps, and there is always a gap with power with this kind of device. So I think you'd want to stick this on a battery backup in case the power goes out. There is an alternate option from a company called Zeus. They built the Zeus Titan actuator, and it's so close to perfect because if you put it with the right hub, it would have all of the properties that the Bulldog has, except for the fact that it would need that hub. It uses Z-Wave communication, and that will again work really well in those mechanical rooms. And it includes an onboard leak sensor, so you don't necessarily have to buy a separate one to protect around the valve. Speaking of leak detection, I'm going to go through one accessory that is nearly perfect. Now, this comes from a Canadian company called Zenape. They created what looks like a fairly standard Zigbee water leak sensor. Except this sensor has 3 different detection methods. You can use a fairly standard dual pin detection. You can use this remote pin sensor attachment, or you can use my personal favorite. That is this blue cable. This is what makes this model near perfect. First of all, this cable detects leaks all along it. It's 7 feet long, and you can connect it to a second cable for a full 14 feet of detection. This isn't new technology by any means, but when it's paired with simple and effective Zigbee 3.0 communication and batteries that last up to 10 years, this is a near perfect leak sensor that could protect an entire basement or an entire room if the cables run right. Because it's Zigbee, you will need that hub to connect it to, but the good news is they've built it to connect to popular hubs like SmartThings and Habitat. Now, right now in my home, I have this connected to my SmartThings hub, which is also connected to the Zoo's Titan. So I'm protecting my own home with this kind of a solution, and I'm very happy with the combo. Smart lighting is one of the most competitive parts of the smart home industry, and it makes it incredibly hard to pick a solution that'll just work for you. There's just too many reviews and too many pieces of data available today, but one of the systems that will work in your home pretty much no matter what is Lutron Cassetta. There's one gap that I'll tell you about off the bat, and that is that connecting to some other home automation systems might require the Lutron Pro bridge. And if you get enough of these devices in your home, you might need a second bridge. Other than that, what you get with this range is a set of lighting solutions that are reliable, easy to use, contain both smart features and traditional switch options, are built to last forever, and they all look good to boot. Now, the way this system works is that any of the Cassetta products connect to the bridge, and then the bridge connects to your home's Ethernet network. The Cassetta products don't connect using any of the smart home technologies that you normally hear about. Instead, they use a 433 megahertz RF signal to communicate between them, and this keeps them away from all kinds of interference from other signals in your home. And on that note, to date, I have never had a command from any smart home system or any app fail with Lutron Cassetta. I can't say that about any other lighting system I've had. Now, the Pico remotes work with lots of their switches, and they can sit around your home with their batteries that last between 5 and 10 years easily. The Cassetta switches themselves in the past used to look a lot like the Pico remotes, and some people felt those were too complex, but they allow you to set scenes and to dim or brighten your lights just by pressing them. Lutron came out with the new Diva light switch, which is a simple dim or brighten switch. It also has a little guide on the side that allows you to set the base level when you turn the light on. And they also put out the new Claro, which is a simple on-off smart switch. But none of these switches turn off power to the lights. And this means that all of your automations will work all the time. And for those of you thinking, I can't put switches in my wall, that's where the lamp dimming kit comes in and is one of my favorite overall products for smart apartments. This is essentially a smart plug that you can plug 2 lamps into and then dim or brighten the bulbs. Again, you can pair that with the Pico remote so that you can have that control for those lamps all over your home. Now, I did tell you about that gap with potentially needing a second bridge or the Pro level bridge, but the other gap is that you won't be able to use this with colored smart lights right now, and that's where the next system becomes so important. There are lots of people that'll tell you Philips Hue is expensive, and it is. And there are lots of people that'll tell you Philips Hue lights aren't bright enough, and sometimes they're not. But otherwise, they are bulletproof. I still have the very first Philips Hue bulb I purchased, and I can't say that about any other smart bulb I bought 5 years ago. In fact, you guys told me that you had very similar situations in your home. Now, that bulb works exactly the same as it did the day I got it, except for the feature improvements that I've received over the last 5 years. Philips Hue works every time you ask it to do something, just like Lutron Cassetta. The way this system works is that every light bulb, light fixture, or even some of their accessory products like the Hue dial switch, they all connect through Zigbee to their Philips Hue hub. Once connected to the hub, Philips Hue absolutely has the most compatibility when it comes to connecting with other smart home systems. In fact, the first person who can stump me on how to get Philips Hue connected to another system gets a t-shirt from me. It might not always be direct, but you can always find a way with Hue. The setup is dirt simple too, and in fact it's so simple that I've never had a successful video tutorial with a Hue product. That's frustrating for me, but good times for you. And they have an incredible array of scenes and effects in their own application, and they even have dynamic scenes today that allow your lights to adjust between different colors. They also have a lighting solution for just about anything in and around your home, and their accessories are always just as good. They're almost always the first in line to get a new feature too. In the past, they were the first light that could do the sleep or wake up lighting effects. They were also the first to do circadian lighting rhythm, and they were actually one of the first with dynamic scenes. They were the first with lights that could synchronize with your television, and they'll be the first for much more. Now you will have one other problem with Philips Hue, and that is you keep spending your money, because once you have a couple of these, you're not going to do much else. I get a lot of smart home products, and I try to hand a lot of them to my friends and family. But there's a couple of people that I have to be really careful with what I hand them, because they're just not technically capable of doing much. And one of the hardest things to give people who struggle with tech is a new router. Or worse yet, a mesh Wi-Fi system. But I handed my Eero 6 to one of those people, and they never called me again. In the past, they complained to me about Wi-Fi connectivity issues, how hard it was to manage things, complained about speed, and they were complaining about even their wired network not working right, and that's with the previous 2 sets of systems they had. Then they walked away with my Eero 6 Plus, set it up, and never called me about any network issue again. They tell me that the wired component has made their home perfect. They don't have Wi-Fi issues anymore, and their smart home works much better now. And when I had Eero in my home, the experience was nearly perfect. The speed was what I was hoping for, except in some isolated cases. The connectivity was excellent, as I never experienced dropouts of Wi-Fi devices, and the management through the Eero app is fantastic. Plus, I gained all kinds of interesting options, like being able to take devices on and off of my Wi-Fi with my voice. And that's because Eero is also a smart home hub in a lot of ways. Now, most Eero routers contain both a Zigbee hub and a Thread border router, and because this company is owned by Amazon, it all pairs so well with their smart home system and the Echo speakers. In fact, if you have an Echo or an Echo Dot that looks like a ball, you can use those to extend an Eero Wi-Fi network. That aspect of the system is not perfect, and I can show you how that works in a video in the links below. But it does work in isolated cases to extend your network for free. And now, a basic Eero system is also a bit of a gateway drug, because you can add some of the more complex Eero networking options like PoE switches. There are 2 drawbacks with Eero. The first is that there's a limit to the number of devices you can put on these networks, and it's not a huge number. And the second is Amazon does try to hide some of the security features behind a monthly subscription, and I don't think they should do that. Otherwise, Eero is very close to the perfect smart home network, and I kick myself every day for having given that system away. My goal is to make sure that you have a perfect smart home, and to do so in a relatively short time. That's where my series of Smart Home 101 videos is going to be so helpful for you, because it's a shortcut to know how to pick products, how to build out a smart home, and how to build better automations. So start out right, and even if you're fairly good at this stuff, you're going to learn something through the playlist that's up on screen now. Check that out. Otherwise, thanks for watching today, and of course, don't hate, automate.